Marshall skips away. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win the grand final.
Whips that one away, and Kane Williamson and his team now World Test Champions.
Welcome back to another episode of the TGIF podcast. Thank God it's footy. Big week coming up. You ready all get up for Friday?
We are rearing to go for Friday. I can't say after, half after the weekend shown, but...
Positive attacking display, defensively again, third week in a row, 40 points.
We scored some points. I don't know if the Warriors are capable of putting on 40. But you never know, but I'm rearing to go for Friday night. It'll be good. Good to see a little Tigers game on in our shores, which is nice. So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, first game of the round. Good way to kick it off.
Yeah, I suppose so. If you're passing up on Thursday night footy, the trade-off is we're off to the first game live. But yeah, I suppose we'll touch on first things first. This time, well, sort of 6 days ago, really, New South Wales getting up in a huge Game 3 decider there up at Suncorp. Breaking the old hoodoo, third time in history they've managed to win a decider when it's 1-1 up there.
Possibly one of my favourite games of Origin I've ever watched, I'd say. It had everything, you know. It kept that same intensity pretty much the whole.
It was brutal for like 65 minutes. They were just going set for set, bashing each other pretty much, which was
all on.
Great to see for a spectator. Obviously, as a Blues fan, it was good to see Luai and Moses open the game up beautifully with those two little moments at the end, which normally you'd see sort of Queensland have in a game like this over recent years, while we've been watching at least. So yeah, good as a Blues fan to see them get up in a game like that for once. I thought Luai was outstanding. I'm sure you'll be very happy with what you saw from him coming into this year.
Awesome, yeah.
His ability to stand up and deliver in the big games.
Had a very big performance on a week where he needed to, with his counterpart Nathan Cleary coming back and taking the glory there in that game for Penrith. So he was awesome, Luai. So and it is good signs there for next year.
Yep, 100%. Bradman Best obviously coming in to fill Latrell's shoes pretty nicely in that one, but yeah, look, to be honest, you'd probably put it down as just really a classic Origin battle. Can't really fault anyone from either side, really. Obviously, a couple of moments there Queensland might have liked to have back for those two tries, but
yeah, a couple of little moments there possibly.
When you're going hammer and tong at each other for 65 minutes, you can understand why a couple of blokes might be
quite a few
bit tired.
A couple of little head knocks, things like that, you know. So when you're in there, you're throwing hands at each other.
Yeah, true. The big talking point, the old Luai DCE spilling over to the sidelines.
Yeah, that was quite intense.
Substitutes and dinner suits getting involved in that one, which I think everyone sort of had their say. There's probably not much to add to that. I think I can see both sides of the argument, really, where you definitely don't want to get people involved that aren't involved in the game. Certainly Cam Murray, definitely borderline, but Ola Kawadu there, standing in his suit, that's a little bit...
Not on, no.
Yeah, not on, but then you can also understand if someone's going at your mates, why the red mist might boil over, and you'd be keen to sort of jump in. You're in that atmosphere. Madge has probably spent about 15 minutes racking you all up before the game to go out there and defend your brothers, so you can't blame them at the same time for getting involved when you see 9 Queensland jerseys pile in on Luai and Tolo there. So yeah, bit of a talking point. I guess Manly fans and South fans are the ones that are the true victims out of it. Really.
Yeah, Manly losing Olakwada and Bunnies losing Cam Murray there.
Yeah.
So
I suppose, not really too much else to say from what was a great game of Origin, really.
yeah, obviously.
Good series for the Blues.
Yeah, very good.
If it wasn't for a little blunder in Game 1, you might have been looking at a little clean sweep. You never know what may have happened.
Could have been 3-0 without that red card.
May have been the turning point that New South Wales needed as well.
Yeah, no, very good series there for the Blues, and breaking a little bit of a hoodoo there as well, obviously, in that win. So
good to see Jakey winning captain. I don't think there's a more deserving bloke in the game. Outstanding lad. So good on him. Good to see his victory speech, as awkward as always. So shout out to him.
I know. Good to see. Like you said, there's probably no player that deserves that more than him. So
and that stat came true in the end. The old double captain from one club. New South Wales winning the series both times, or the last two times. Both captains have come from the same club. So yeah. But I suppose we also had some NRL action over the last week. Starting off with our team of the week as always, and starting off with a bloke at the back who, had it not been for injuries, may have well seen himself involved on Wednesday night, but charging back onto the NRL scene, Tommy Turbo at the back.
Back to, I know I said it last week that he was back to himself, but definitely
improved a little bit on that week before.
Looked like it on the weekend there. He was awesome, and what was a big win there for Manly. And joined your two wingers, Anderson and Taruba, a couple of meaties there.
Yeah, Anderson particularly had a really good game for Storm there, in that sort of what we were billing at least as a top of the table clash. Once you get your if, buts and maybes involved, and Taruba, another lad who you'll be pleased to see playing so well coming into the Tigers next year. So good on him. Pops himself back into the top 10 for tries scored as well. It's a heated battle there. There's lots of players in the mix.
Going to be going right down to the wire on that one there, I'm sure. Milne and Mariner, your M&M. That's your centre pairing for this week. Milne there, sort of.
Shout out to Tane Milne, possibly a first appearance. Might have popped up along the last couple of seasons.
I don't know if he would have
popped
up as a Tiger, but yeah, first of the year, I would say you're probably right there. And Dean Mariner, the other one there, definitely a reoccurring selection there. He's been here before. One man who is back into the team this week, I briefly touched on him there before. Nathan Cleary joining Tommy Dearden there in your halves pairing. Cleary back into the team and slotting 46 metre.
You'd probably give him at least 45 on the angle. I think they were saying 47 possibly. So
big kick.
Yeah, regardless, it was a 2-pointer. Potentially a little bit of a show-off move, Golden Point. Obviously on the 5th, couldn't really get any closer, but yeah, big dick moment to pull up the 2-point field goal and Golden Point there for Nathan Cleary. Possibly not the best game of his career overall, but as always steps up in that clutch moment. So had to get him in there, and Tommy Dearden, 2 outstanding games in the space of a week for the young half. So good on him. He was great for the Cowboys. I think he was really the difference. Apart from maybe 1 or 2 dodgy calls for the Dogs, but yeah, Tommy Dearden, outstanding.
Yep, and rounds out a pretty tasty looking backline there. Joining them there, that forward pack, we've got your customary double barrel, JFH taking one of your problem roles, and joining him there, Taniela Paseka had himself a game in that big one there for Manly.
Yeah, huge for Manly, and I believe he's just signed himself a new juicy long-term deal there.
That's good for them.
Rounding out to 2029 or something like that. So I
haven't
think
looked
it might
wide
be,
running it is. It's a scary thought.
You would definitely not want to be taking that on, that's for sure. So shout out to the lads. Cookie slots in between the two of them at hooker, even though he did spend a little bit of time out in the centres there.
He spent, to be fair, most of the game. I'd say maybe 60, 65 minutes of the game there at centre. But he's taken that hooking role there, kicking. I believe they were saying fourth or fifth choice kicker or something like that.
7 from 7 goals, was it?
No, he missed his first.
7 from 8. Might have got a penalty in there.
Got a penalty in there. Had himself a very good game in a slightly unfamiliar role there.
Oh, you never know. I mean, he did find himself out there for 70 odd minutes of an Origin game. So a seasoned centre when it comes to the top level, some may say.
Yeah, you could throw him in the mix there. You know, they do. That seems to be the position though where you seem to be able to chuck someone. You know, so
I don't know.
You chuck a few fullbacks in there in Origin and things like that. He's crept in there in that 9 jersey this time around. We've got a double up here. We've got a couple of brothers. Would have been cool to have all 3 in there this week, but we've got Jakey had a good speech, and now we've managed to get Tom and Ben in there. Benny Trebojevic taking that second row role there along with Halen Lukey.
Yep, 2 meaties for Helam, and I was going to say 2 for Burbo, but maybe it was just 1 for Burbo.
Just the one, I
2
think.
for Turbo, I think it was in the end.
Yeah.
There you go, 3 tries for the 3 Trebojevic brothers. Unfortunately, only 2 selections. Sorry, Jakey, but I'm sure lifting the shield as New South Wales skipper on the week on Wednesday night, would have been a bit of a softening blow for that. I'm sure he'd trade that up any day of the week. So yeah, shout out Burbo. It seems to be having a little bit of a run of form lately, so whether or not that's the confidence that comes with seeing his big brother getting ready beside him as 2 big brothers in the changing rooms. But yeah, and as I see, a couple of meaties for Lukey, and then for what seems like about the 7th time in the last 8 weeks,
he's been in there a few times.
Kaloa Matangi rounds out the team at lock. Outstanding again. Obviously Cam Murray out, suspended this week as well, so not surprised. I haven't checked the team sheets, but wouldn't be surprised if we saw him running out there again. And,
I'd say so.
Yeah, we saw Ben Hornby playing Cam Murray on the edge pre-Origin there, or sort of during, so depends how I guess Ben Hornby wants to go for the rest of the season, but I'm sure Wayne will be looking and licking his lips at the form Keon's showing at the moment.
Yeah, well and truly, and you're right. He's definitely a repeat offender of the old TPAF Team of the Week. Another tasty lineup brought to you as always, but we will crack on to round 21. I believe we're into now. And as we said before, we trade off a little bit of Thursday night footy for a Friday night 8 p.m. kickoff game over here, not Mount Smart, Go Media, whatever the fuck it is, Go Media 1NZ Stadium.
Is it the Go Media 1NZ now? Did they get on board? I thought it was just Go Media.
I just assumed maybe they were on there because of the...
Oh, I'm sure they'll weasel their way in there.
They'll get in there at some stage if they're not already in there. But either way, Mount Smart, the Warriors take on the Tigers. Both teams losers there last week. The Warriors obviously coming up short due to a bit of a heartbreaking kick there at the end of the game. I don't know if it was right at the end, but it might have been a little bit of time to play, but would have tied it up, but no luck and fallen short by 2.
Yeah, I think it was about 5 or so minutes left on the clock, and Chanel obviously won't want to be looking back at that one again, pulling it wide from an angle that you'd say most players would be fairly confident of throwing it over. Most people, let alone most players. So
you're letting someone like a JFH in a 300th game sort of scenario take a kick from there.
Even with you needing the 2 points.
Even with you needing the 2 points, yeah. Especially get up and you just put your toes on it and it should just fly over. But a little bit unfortunate. You can't. You can never say that you've just lost off a moment like that.
Yeah, I mean,
they could have scored elsewhere. They could have conceded 1 try less. So
yeah, it's a tough one to take for the Warriors, though, I suppose. Scoring 4 tries to the Canberra's 3 there, but yeah, you're right. They've got to cop it. They've got to take their licks. It's one that leaves their season hanging on its very last thread. They probably have to win every game now to have a chance of making that shock top 8 appearance this year again. And then the Tigers, while that top 8 battle is long gone, possibly, showed a bit of spark with the footy. Obviously, as we touched on, 3 weeks in a row conceding 40 points is never
not ideal.
Never the flashiest. We've seen a little bit of movement in terms of off-field with the Tigers moving Robbie Farah on as well.
I have seen that, yeah. It's unfortunate.
Whether or not we see a little bit of a response out of the Tigers there with Robbie's time coming to a close, maybe he can inspire the boys to get up out of that bottom spot on the ladder, which will be desperate to try and right this week. I think it'll be a tough one for the Tigers. Obviously, the Warriors have been traditionally strong at home over the last ever since they have returned home from COVID. Was that 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, going on what we
not 2.5, like 2 and a
This is their second season.
No, it might have been July 2 years ago. We went to that game. Tigers Warriors.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can smell an upset. That's for sure. The Warriors have definitely been looking shaky. But they've got the ideal conditions, the ideal opponent, you may say, for a bounce back, coming up against 17th place spot in front of their home crowd on a Friday night. I believe it's forecasted to be a decent night.
I think we're supposed to be alright.
We can at least stay dry.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind if it's a chilly one, but if we can stay dry.
I don't mind if it's wet and we win. It can piss down with rain if we put 50 points on them. I don't give a fuck. But if we lose and it rains, I'll be in a fairly foul mood. I would say. But either way, an upset. Yeah, I guess it does have a slight tinge of upset to it.
I mean, the Tigers, they're hard to pick, but they do have a brilliant performance in them every now and then. So whether or not, Talon De Silva, he seemed to spark something there for the Tigers. He was pretty good. Him and Lockie Galvin linking up, showing a little bit of the future there. All 3 Fino brothers playing for the Tigers as well.
That was cool to see.
So plenty of promising signs for the future. Obviously, maybe you'd probably say 3 or 4 of them, probably a little bit early to be playing regular first grade, but needs must, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, and a couple more young fellas.
Lots of injuries, lots of
this week. Players being dropped because they're shit.
And to be fair, these young blokes, they're leading the way for the Tigers, really.
They're not getting binned.
You know, just when you think Steph's leading the forward pack and he's probably...
After the Storm,
he's probably... Yeah, I think, because your guys, you offered him a big deal, didn't you?
I believe so, yeah.
So, I don't know if we end up seeing Steph in purple or cashed up out west.
Ideally cashed up. I'm sure there'd be a lovely little spot that he can purchase himself, with a little bit of moolah there from the Tigres. I am, excuse me. I am going to obviously have to get behind the lads this weekend. I never go for a big win. Never go 13+ when it comes to the Tigers. So we're going Tigers 1-12. Into one of those young fellas, Luke Lalili, $10.19. Not a bad little start to the week.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'd say if the Tigers get the win, it would probably, the odds would probably have to be up in the thousands for the money to outweigh the victory for you. So regardless, you'll be a happy chappy should that one come off. I've just tried to keep a result out of it. I've gone for 2 double barrels to cross the line for the Warriors there. RTS and Harris Tavita to bounce back from his shocker last week. And Jareen Buller as well. 23.50 you're going to get for all those 3. So
it's a good week chunk.
A little bit of value in Harris Tavita. So he beats that one up there.
Yeah, good. A good wee chunk there to start your week off. We then see the other team there battling it out for the spoon with the old Tigers. The Eels coming up against the Storm. It's a top v the bottom. The Eels though banking that 2 points last week with the bye, jumping ahead of the Tigers there for now. And the Storm putting in a pretty solid performance there up against the Roosters.
Yeah. Obviously, Parramatta, things have gone from bad to worse with the news of Mitchell Moses being out for the season. Thank God it was in the last sort of 90 seconds there for New South Wales once they'd sealed the game with that little bit of a left foot step to beat Ponga and Walsh. And Melbourne, yeah, I can't see them losing this one off the back of what they showed last week. They just keep shrugging along there, Melbourne. Top of the table, 4 points clear. It's hard to see anyone with, 5 or 6 rounds to go, reeling them in. Just based off the fact that even if they don't play that well, they've still been winning games this year.
Yeah, they haven't looked.
Cam Munster to come back into the fold, which
if he's lucky,
I believe he's
going to have to. It wouldn't surprise me well and truly, but you could give it a shout that he doesn't get back.
Wishart been playing some bloody good footy there at 6.
Ham and juice together is very tasty.
I think Cam Munster is a bloke that you probably want to be chucking him straight away. Maybe not regardless of who's been playing at 6 and how well they've been playing, but I'm sure Wishart will still feature somewhere or another, whether or not he moves into that 14 role. I suppose that leaves a headache with what to do with Fa'alongo and Pat, both playing some awesome footy at the moment. Whether or not we see 2 backs on the bench for Melbourne going forward there.
That would be interesting.
Headaches for Bellamy, I'm sure they're ones he's happy to have. But yeah, I think Munster's named back this week to play with some reserve grade footy there. So
okay, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw him named back for the Storm next week. But looking really good there for Melbourne and not so good for Parramatta. New coach is coming in, obviously, so a few players with that sort of need to impress, show that they're ready to be continue to be involved in the side moving forward. With lots of rumours that Parramatta have been shopping a few players around, so whether or not we see Madison, Sean Lane, or Bryce Cartwright potentially moved on. I think three names that I heard mentioned there. Some hefty back rollers taking up a bit of cap, I believe there. So possibly a new direction for Parramatta there. But it's hard to see them turning around the direction of this season this week.
Yeah, no, I think it's a bit of a long shot there for the Eels in this one. As you said, bad to worse with Moses being out again. We saw how much they struggled without him. He came back and they continued to struggle. So hopefully for my Tigers' sake that the Eels continue to lose, and I believe we've still got to buy up our sleeves, and if we can bank another win along the way and they can lose the rest, then
this could be an ugly win for Parramatta. So you things are clicking for Melbourne.
If we can come out of this game with a win, ideally we see Melbourne put on 15 now. I didn't really see too much value in going for that big Melbourne win really, so just went for a couple of try scorers. Katoa and Hughes there to get themselves a meaty each, coming in just under $7 at $6.91, so not too shabby.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Certainly beats mine now for value. I've gone Melbourne 13 plus into Anderson and Fa'alongo. So $5.71 for two outside backs. But yeah, you're playing with that result as well. But I somehow think this one is fairly safe this week. So that's it for your Friday night. On to your Super Saturday. Starting off with the Broncos playing host to the Doggies. Big game this one for both sides really. The Bulldogs now sort of after last week's loss, with how tight things are, have been drawn back into that sort of group.
Yeah.
Fighting it out between 6th to 11th or 12th really there. And Brisbane sort of round out that group realistically. But most importantly for them, the return of Adam Reynolds and the return of some winning footy for Brisbane. They haven't tasted victory in what's, I think might have even been close to 60 days or so.
Was it 6? I thought it was something like 6 or 7 weeks. They had a couple of buys in there.
Yeah. I swear I saw a post last week after they lost to the Dragons that it was like 54 days since they last won. So been a long time, as Jared Haynes says. But Brisbane with the win, 30 points to 14. Adam Reynolds was back. He was doing as he does best, directing the troops around, keeping everyone composed. Reece Walsh, I think we saw a little bit of a return to his best, maybe a little bit of a confidence lift with maybe the monkey off the shoulder. The Origin's now sort of in the rear mirror. He can focus on the Broncos, that NRL footy where maybe people aren't looking to bash him so much, and he can sort of play with that little bit more confidence, because we certainly saw maybe not the best of Reece Walsh, but he had some moments in that win up against Newcastle, although Newcastle are a side that have definitely been slipping the last few weeks. They were in that race a few weeks ago, but now they seem to have fallen a little bit off the ladder there, down into maybe 12th or 13th now.
Yeah, they've fallen off, obviously. A few injuries along the way, a few players not involved at certain stages, so they have had a probably, I don't think it would be close to the Tigers, but a fair amount of their roster would have run out onto the field for them this season. So, but yeah, they did struggle up against Brisbane, and I think going into this game here against the Doggies, Brisbane will be thinking that they can maybe continue this newfound little bit of form, go out there, back themselves two on the trot. But the Doggies have looked good along the way this season. Although same scoreline there as that Warriors Canberra game, coming away with a loss in that one.
Yeah, 20 points to 18. I saw today as well. It was maybe the 5th time ever in first grade history that the opening scoreline of the round was the same as the final scoreline of the round.
Oh, okay.
So I would have thought it might have been a little bit more common than that, but possibly one that may have to be verified. But yeah, I saw that upon scrolling this afternoon. So
That's
an
quite
interesting little stat there, a little bit of pub ammo. But yeah, the doggies, they've been good. Obviously coming up with a loss there. A little bit contentious with one or two calls that they certainly weren't happy with. Their fans are having a little bit of a grumble about. But I think really when you look at it, it's a little bit of karma for the week before, or maybe 2 weeks ago, when Salmon took off Tamari Martin's head, and they didn't get penalised for what would have been an easy 2 points to see the Warriors 99% home with about a minute to go on the clock there. So a little bit of karma potentially for the doggies. It just extends that poor away record that they do have. But certainly a side that you chalk and cheese from what we've seen of them over the last few years. Definitely in with a huge fight still for that top 4 if things can go their way, if they can finish really strongly. And the Broncos are going to have to win 5 of the next 6.
Yeah, they need to go on a bit of a run.
I don't think they can lose one. They might be able to lose one and still scrape in, but yeah, even that's
pretty big.
looking risky.
I was backing them as my team to go on and win it this year, Brisbane, and I also had Canberra there as my spooners. So bad if it ends up being the other, well, not obviously the other way around, but if those two end up swapping areas there in the ladder, and we see Brisbane finish below them.
To be fair, I don't think many people would have had Brisbane anywhere close to even the bottom of the 8. I think everyone would have had them, if not top 2, definitely top 4. So certainly a shock. But the doggies also, while, like you say, we keep saying it, they've got the signings coming in the last 2 or 3 years, the big name signings. This year it's finally clicked. Stephen Crichton working absolute wonders as the leader there. The magic, sort of, maybe not the final piece in terms of what the Dogs are concerned, but he certainly brought things together, if you want to look at it that way. So makes for a great game here. If the doggies can break that away game.
That's the big thing, They've really.
I don't think it's probably something. Yeah, I don't know if it's something that's in their heads or whether it's just they've had the tougher games away from home.
And easy games at home, possibly.
Yeah, maybe they've played the likes of the bottom 9 sides at home and top 8 sides away. Who knows, but. Yeah, it's another away game for them, so they're going to have to pick up their 2nd away win of the season if they want to continue that charge for the top 4. Brisbane desperate as well, so huge one. I can see it being very close.
Yep, and I am backing the Dogs in this one here to go out there and get themselves a win. Maybe I don't want to say a flash in the pan from Brisbane, but I don't know if it's all there just yet. The Knights have looked pretty poor, so I'm backing the Doggies to come away in a little tight one there, 1-12, and Matt Burton across the try line. I'm going to get you a 11.29.
Not bad value there at all. Not bad at all. I've gone for Brisbane to win 1-12, the other side of the coin. Reece Walsh to continue a bit of that form, cross the try line as well. Only $5.33, but home advantage I think is the key on the day when you're talking about the Bulldogs particularly.
Yep. I do like your thinking there. That leads you into the Cowboys up against the Sharkies. Now, the Sharkies are rolling into this one fresh. They had the bye on the weekend, whereas the Cowboys, on the other end of the result in that Doggies game, they're coming away with the 2 points and a tight one there on the weekend.
Yeah, both teams pretty impressive. It was... I don't think either team led by more than sort of 4 or 6 points at any stage of that game. It was, Cowboys scored first, then it was the Doggies hit back with 2, the Cowboys hit back, the Doggies scored again. Very close one, but Cowboys got up at home. Tommy Dearden probably, as we mentioned before, the difference. Helen Lukey with a couple of tries as well. So yeah, North Queensland, another one similar to the Dogs. If they can string together an impressive finish to the season, they may just be looking at a top 4 finish. You never know. They're in there. Maybe 2 wins, maybe just the 1 win outside the top 4 at the moment. So yeah, another big game here as well, because apart from Cronulla's what was a very impressive win the week before over Wests, they've been slipping a bit, and without their main man, their main playmaker, Nico Hines, could be a different
huge loss.
Huge loss. And some of these difficult away trips when it is up against a top 8 side like the Cowboys, I don't think. Nothing against Trindle there, he was outstanding against the Tigers, but the Tigers definitely didn't bring their best on that night. So yeah, interesting to see how Cronulla do finish the season without their main man. If they can hold on to that top 4 spot and make it have a decent crack at the final.
They've completely fallen off a little bit throughout the last you could go almost back, say, 2 months, where they haven't really looked
ever
like they were.
Since Game 1 Origin, they've had a couple of good performances in there, don't get me wrong, but yeah, ever since Nico Hines got axed, he looked a bit shaky on the whole, and you know, when you don't have Hines humming, it's obviously they've played well without him, but he definitely has lifted them to another level over the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it.
He's playing well. They can quickly rack up a score, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty substantial loss for the Sharkies not having him involved in the team while he's injured. So it is going to be tough for them this one here, and Cowboys are one of those teams I've really struggled this year to sort of gauge what level they're playing at.
It's hard with the buys, because I think they've had all of their buys quite late. They might even. I think they've still got 1 to go, but up until even a couple of weeks ago, they still had 2 in the bank. So.
And then all of a sudden you make that big jump, and it changes.
You're sitting comfortably in the 8, and it's like, oh well, I thought they weren't going the best this year, but all of a sudden they're good. And teams you thought were going really well have 1 or 2 losses, and all of a sudden they're not in the 8 anymore. It's a strange old season, but yeah, the Cows, they're sitting in there at the moment on the cusp. I think at 8th at the moment. Maybe even 7th or 6th.
Yeah, they're
after the win.
They're there or thereabouts. I mean, it is, like you said before, it's all been very tight in there, so it's gonna come right down to that last game week, I'm sure, and it'll be decided by something. No, I don't want to say controversial, but something big, I'm sure. But it should be an interesting game. Is it your second game for your Saturday? That's your middle game of your Saturday night there. It's tough, but yeah, like you said, Sharkies have just fallen off. So I'm leaning towards a Cowboys win in this one. A nice close one, 1-12, and a Hanamuku try to top it off in 9.76.
Yeah, I like it. I've gone pretty similar, although I've just involved Ronaldo Mulatalo instead of Hanamuku as my try scorer. Parcel that in with the Cows 1-12, $5.74. So fingers crossed the Cowboys can get up in a close one there for our sakes. But we move on to what looks to be a great game here to round out your Super Saturday.
Yep, this will be a banger.
4th versus 5th, I think, as it stands. Roosters playing host to the Manly Sea Eagles now. As we mentioned before, the Roosters falling short to Melbourne, 24 points to 8, which leaves them up against combined record against Melbourne and Penrith of like 1 for 19 in their last 20 games or something.
Jesus.
There might be one other team involved there, but yeah, it just doesn't make pretty reading for the Roosters up against sort of fellow top 4 contenders there. And again, falling short. You'd probably have to say on the day, on the one hand, due to Melbourne being impressive, but the Roosters really gave themselves not too much of a chance with a couple of sin bins thrown in there. Victor Radley's probably definitely not needed there. And you can't give away those sort of silly sin bins.
Nah, not at all.
Against the likes of Melbourne or Penrith, even if you are the Roosters, you're gonna suffer, even if it's not during the 10 minutes, towards the back end as well. But yeah, look, it's probably just more of a not so much flat track bullies from the Roosters, but they're a side that likes to throw the footy around. You think of Sam Walker as their main playmaker. He's sort of definitely reined it in a little bit more the last couple of years, but sort of likes to throw those big Harbour Bridge passes. He's got lots of fancy kicks in his arsenal as well, compared to maybe a halfback like your Cooper Cronk or Chad Townsend, who might do things a little bit more safe, the percentage play. So maybe that's also a reason, the completion rate. Maybe they just don't play that little bit, I don't want to say conservative, but yeah, maybe just one or two many errors, discipline to get up against a fellow top 4 side like Melbourne.
Yeah, they do. Obviously, that's a whack stat though. Was it 1 in 19 or
something?
1 in 20?
Maybe it's not quite that bad, because it sounds like a lot of games they're playing against 2 teams over like 5 years, but including finals games and
things like that, you got to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I don't think they haven't beaten Melbourne since the 2018 Grand Final.
Yeah, wow.
Or 2018 Grand Final, because 2019 they beat the Raiders. That's a long time for a side like Roosters. Up against Manly, who they got the win in the Des Derby.
They were really good.
8-0 down early as well, to come back and put on a unanswered 38 points there. They were very good, particularly second half there, as Gold Coast's heads started to drop. Tommy Turbo was causing problems all day long.
Awesome.
Lehigh Hopewade though, going off with a fractured eye socket.
Yeah, it looked a bit swollen to start with, and then a couple minutes later
I think he did the old blow.
Yeah, and it just fucking
it just fills up.
Oh, it was nuts. So yeah, it didn't look good, and he's been playing some very good footy as well, the young fella there. So it's unfortunate to see, but Manly just far too strong for the Titans in this one, which is keeps keeps them slightly in that wooden spoon conversation there. They are still that little bit further away, the Titans, but Manly doing us a little bit of a favour.
I think they're, 4 points ahead of you?
4 points.
Is it 6?
4 at the moment, I believe.
4, okay. So, yeah, look, as much as I don't want to say it, it's hard to see the Tigers picking up 3 more wins than any team really. But Gold Coast, if they can continue that form, it certainly doesn't hinder the Tigers in any way. So why not? But this one, Manly up against the Chooks, should be a good game really. Both teams sort of have struggled to lift against I guess you'd say the top echelon, the cream of the crop.
Yep.
In the latest years, both sitting maybe particularly at their best, certainly at that sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th spot on the ladder behind Melbourne and Penrith, and obviously Brisbane last year. But if one of these two can pick up a good win here, it'll go a long way, and giving them the confidence that they can make that run past those strongest sides come finals time, because we know what they can do. Like you saw Manly up against Gold Coast, absolutely carving it up.
Yes.
The week before against Newcastle as well. It's when they come up against
those big teams, though. That's when they
that's
tend to
when
fall
Tommy
off.
Turbo gets shut down because the defences are a little bit better. All of a sudden there's not as many options, not as much go forward, and you see them struggle. But if we can see DCE bring some of his better form, I'm sure he'll be desperate for a bounce back after maybe letting Jerome Luai a little bit under his skin there in the Origin, particularly in that decider there. So he'll be looking for a big finish to the season for Manly to make up for letting the Shield through his grasp for the first time in 3 years. So huge game.
Definitely will be. He'll be up for a big win in this one, I'm sure. Now we've sort of gone either side of the coin here. I've gone for a Roosters 1 to 12, into Victor Radley and Tommy Turbo. I'm going to get 22-22. As soon as the odds popped up, I had to just keep it as that. So that's what I'm going for this game.
The Richie Beno bet, I like it.
Yeah,
he'd be a huge fan of that one. As you said, other side of the coin. Taking Radley out, so Manly 1 to 12 into Tommy Turbo, $6.48 you're going to get for that one. So can't say it's as good as the old Richie Beno bet over there.
More humble, but it's the way to go sometimes.
Yeah. What can I say? Sometimes you just have to settle for second, play the safe option. It's a marathon, not a sprint, as we say with the tipping comp as well. So we don't mind there, but that'll round out your Saturday. Hopefully a little bit of moolah in the bank. As we move on into Sunday, because I may need a little bit of a softener here. The Dragons coming up
Big game
against the Penrith Panthers. Obviously, Penrith winning off the back of that Nathan Cleary Golden Point special, as we mentioned there. 2-point field goal to round out the game, 28-26. A little bit of a comeback there. Saw them come back from 14 points down with.
It was a fair bit of a comeback.
Shades of the grand final there for Penrith.
Yeah, I like that call.
Maybe a poor man's grand final. Up against the Brisbane side coming back in the last 20. Good on them, but yeah, the Dragons coming in off a bye, sitting in 9th spot on the ladder at the moment, so really hoping we can pull off another win against Penrith, but it's going to be tough, that's for sure, with Nathan Cleary back in the side. All the Origin boys, I believe, back into the side for Penrith as well, barring Dylan Edwards.
Yes, I think so. everyone back involved in there apart from Edwards. You're right. But it's a fresh looking Dragons team. Obviously, having that bye there last week, that always comes in handy. But it's one of those games where you need to be at the top of your game for the whole 80 minutes. You can't let anything slip in these games up against the big teams like this. So tough one, but still plenty to play for the Dragons. Obviously, looking like they're going to be involved in some finals footy this year. So these are the games where you want to go out and put in that big shift.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough run, and I believe for the Dragons. I have to check that as well, but certainly a tough one this week. But if we can pull it off, that'll go a long way towards, as you say, a little bit of finals footy in September. Hopefully, the Dragons can extend their season into my Europe trip. Hopefully, not too far in. So I'm getting FOMO of a grand final there, but I think I might be getting maybe 2 or 3 weeks ahead of myself there at this stage. But yeah, for this weekend, tough one, but we come with the confidence of having already beaten Penrith earlier in the year. So completely different lineup for them, mind you, but we also bring in the likes of Zach Lomax and Ben Hunt back into the fold, so yeah, fingers crossed we can pull off a little miracle come Sunday afternoon.
That
is God's day after all, so
that would be the ideal scenario there for the old Dragons. Get themselves a win. I mean, looking like they're for many a moment that the Panthers were going to lose that one there on the weekend. So if the Dragons can stick with
if we can get into that position, the same as the Dolphins, I'd be hoping that we, rather than going for a crossfield kick,
you're going
2
for
minutes
those
ago,
posts.
we're going for the field goal and we're slotting it, and we're coming away with no chance of seeing a Nathan Cleary golden point special.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. We don't want to be doing that. I know how you go when it comes to a Dragons game. You've obviously got to stick loyal, but I have to say I'm probably leaning towards a Penrith win. But there was not a whole heap of value in going that way, so I've just gone for three try scorers. Zachy Lomax to get himself a meaty. The young centre Charlie McLean there from Penrith, and Liam Martin get themselves a meaty each, $20.51.
Yeah, not too bad at all. I wouldn't mind seeing Zachy Lomax cross the line, that's for sure. The other two, I'll give you them as long as the Dragons can pick up a win. As you said, I'm sticking with my guns. The Dragons 13 plus. Haven't looked at the odds on this for a few weeks, but we're coming back in nice and healthy, as you'd expect, coming up against Penrith with Nathan Cleary and all the Origin boys back involved. $9.75. So if you're feeling particularly red and white come Sunday afternoon, there's a lot of value to be found. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is a fairly substantial return there on that one there. And a pretty good way to kick off your Sunday. Obviously the triple threat there for your Sunday this week. We get into another Queensland derby. The Dolphins up against the Titans. Now,
our first Queensland derby in a few weeks, I reckon.
Yep, we've had Origin games in there that obviously takes place Queensland and New South Wales.
Maybe the QRL got in the NRL's ear scheduling time and said we want the Queensland derbies outside of the Origin period. We don't want any sort of infighting during the Origin period. Any sort of beef between our lads. We want to sort of come together and fuck those New South Wales boys off.
That's a high possibility. That's one of those things you have to put a bit more research into, I think.
I'd say if we're talking probabilities here, I'd say there's probably an 85% probability that that's happened.
Yeah, that's definitely something worth doing a little bit more research about. There's no doubt about that. But as it's another Queensland derby, we have had a bit of a break, and both teams they're falling short on the weekend. Both teams coming away without any points. Now, Dolphins obviously they're involved in that golden point battle up against Penrith, whereas the Titans, who had found themselves on a nice little run of form there, falling short in that Des derby we spoke about.
Yeah, Gold Coast particularly poor in that Des derby there after a really promising sort of opening, 10 to 15 minutes of the game where they were leading 8-0 before Manly scored their first one back there. The Dolphins probably couldn't have done much more really when you look at it, falling short on the day to Penrith, but they also started the game very impressively. Was a little bit more try for try, I think, but going into the final 20 with that 14-minute lead after the Hammer cut open the Penrith defence a couple of times there, and
he was wrapping up.
Katoa as well had himself another game that's sort of starting to establish himself as a definite future superstar of our game.
He's a threat. There's no doubt about
very
that.
Very young and looks like he's coming into his best footy already, which at 22, 23 years old.
Still very young.
Is, scary sign when you think of Moses has only sort of just started to round out his game fully now at the age of 29 years old.
Yeah, still
over the last couple of years, and Nathan Cleary obviously is a little bit of a buck to the trend. But
plenty more years left on him yet to go out there and continue to grow. There's no doubt about it. It's one of those games that you expect a Dolphins win. You'd expect them to continue along. A lot of people saying they're going to fall off there at some stage, and possibly this is the time where they do fall off, and it really drags them into that battle there.
Well, yeah, when you think early on in the season they were coasting along, sort of in that top four for some stage of the season there. Over the last few weeks, things have definitely not gone. You'd say a plan for the Dolphins, but they are still sitting there in the 8. One of those teams that over the last 2 or 3 weeks there have been dragged back into that sort of cluster of teams that we're talking about. So they will need to pick up at least a few more wins to guarantee themselves their first shot at finals footy, which second year as a franchise. Pretty solid effort when you think of, I guess, their lack of marquee signings. Obviously, look at their team now, and they've
got a pretty good looking team.
Fair few reg players, but I don't know if many of them would have made their debuts before last season.
No, there'd be a fair chunk that have come in there.
Like Hammer's definitely come into stardom as a Dolphin. He may have been involved with Queensland one game or on the squad, but
possibly
he was sort of on the bench and struggling to nail down a spot at the Cowboys. Before he went to the Dolphins, and although obviously signed Flegler, but he's just sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, still injured there, obviously. So, whether or not this is that time of the season now where they do drop off or not, but the Titans, they've since that Warriors game, they've played some pretty good attacking footy. So, if they can go out there and get some early points, then maybe we can see a little bit of an upset in this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good story for the NRL as well. I think a lot of punters out there have sort of adopted the Dolphins as a sort of second team. For a while there, it was probably the Warriors off the back of them making the shift over to Australia to keep the NRL going, so to speak. But the Dolphins seem to be earning everyone a bit of a soft spot with what Wayne's been able to do. So it would be a nice sort of little romantic storyline for them to round out the season with some finals.
Truly, yeah.
And yeah, I don't see why they don't pick up a win in this one. Gold Coast have, while they've been travelling pretty well over the last month or two as a whole, things are definitely not pretty well and truly rooted into that bottom four as things stand. They'd have to pick up a couple of wins to get out. But you never know. It's possibly a good chance for them this week.
Yeah,
against the Dolphins side that. While I'm sure they won't be too far into their own heads about it, they have been certainly trending down the table rather than up in the last month or so. So they'd want to buck that trend and pick up 2 points here, and Gold Coast will be maybe preying on a little bit of those insecurities from the Finns.
Yeah, 100%. They're going to want to continue to try and get a few more wins on the board, creep away from that. Any talk about being in that spoon battle there, obviously, as it's still quite tight down there as well. So I'm sure they'll be thinking that they can go out there and get themselves a win. I am backing the Finns to come away with a big one there. I'm going Dolphins 13+. Canberra and Asako there as my 2 try scorers, and it's going to get you $7.69.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. I've gone Gold Coast 1-12. A little bit of a shock against the grain victory there. David Fafita to be one of the men leading that one front and centre with a try. $9.25. You can scoop up for that one. So I'm back in Des to have something in his locker. A little bit of a pogo stick bounce back factor there for Desi. So
bounce back after the loss in his own derby. So
it's 2 derbies in a row for Des, I suppose.
Yeah, two in a row.
Yeah, he's got the Queensland derby this week, and
Not
so much a Des derby this week.
Not a Des. That's what I was thinking. It's not a Des derby this week, but you are right. It is the double derby there, and it leaves you with the Raiders up against the Bunnies as your final game for the round there. Your late game on the Sunday. Both teams there taking the wins last week. The Raiders obviously taking that lucky win there over the Warriors, and the Bunnies piling on the points up against my hapless Tigers there.
Yeah, both teams, as you said, victorious last week. But yeah, probably not their toughest challenges, you'd say. I guess Canberra picking up the win, maybe a little bit lucky on the day. 3 tries to 4.
The kicking comes as a big part to play,
for
unfortunately.
the Warriors, you don't want to rub it in for Chanel too much. But yeah, unfortunately, if he was able to make even one more of those 3 conversion attempts, things might have played out a little bit more differently. But yeah, Canberra coming away with the win there, and Souths probably not their most impressive performance, particularly defensively, but managing to pile on 42 points, you're never unhappy with that. I think in terms of a fan's point of view, no matter who it's up against.
Oh, exactly. It's good for the fans, good for the neutrals.
Come away with a 13+ win in the end as well. I guess things became fairly comfortable when we saw the sin bin involved again for the Tigers. It was all pretty close up until that moment, I think.
Yep, that definitely had a big part to play in it again. I mean, I don't think we can say that was the downfall, but yeah, there was still plenty to play for up until then.
Yeah, and I mean, Souths, while I think it is probably over, there's a chance should they win every single game and other things go their way,
mathematics is still in their favour.
Pull it off, so to speak. So while they still have something to play for, I'm sure we'll see the Rabbitohs get up there with a bit of fire in their belly. But Canberra as well, they're sort of in a similar boat, maybe sitting 1 or 2 victories ahead of South as things stand. But yeah, sort of slipping away from what was well and truly in the hunt for one of those top 8 spots to what might be a more disappointing season for Canberra. But as you said, tipping them for the spoon, I think
they've exceeded my expectations, that's for sure.
A lot of people were, definitely tipping them for bottom 4. But yeah, I guess Ricky always manages to get them pairing in one shape or another. So whether this Sunday evening, he's got them up for this game against Souths, or whether Souths can continue that mathematical sort of slim chance of keeping things alive. Should be an interesting one. We haven't seen the best of Canberra over the last couple of months.
No, not at all.
Apart from what was a bit of a shocking performance against the Dolphins, Souths have played some really good footy. So I'll probably have to give my money with Souths in this one, even though Canberra do have that home advantage.
Yep. I see we've ended up going the same. This week we've gone for a little copy and paste there. Bunnies 1 to 12, AJ to cross the try line. Pretty stock standard, pretty automatic for a Bunnies game.
Yeah, closing in on 200 tries with some speed. Really, I think. Sort of stalled a little bit when the Bunnies did stall. Maybe Billy Slater was
bit of a break,
sort of in his targets, and he sort of stuttered a little bit there. But well and truly on his charge towards the finish line, towards picking up that all-time try scorer's record. So fingers crossed he can make it one more this week, at least.
Exactly. And nuts to think of though, it's the Ken Irvine men on his top, and then you've got someone like AJ in there battling it out. Will be the top all-time top try scorer for a long time to come, I think.
Yeah, I mean you've got a lot of players that are sort of coming in around a lot of career tries. But yeah, you think even someone like Cam Pereira, he's got to do it for like 10 seasons.
It's crazy.
Injury free.
Yeah, exactly. That's
like AJ had 2 or 3 good years where it was like 30 tries,
which is just outrageous.
Just fucked. Yeah.
So it's a big feat. Leaves the Knights with the bye. The Knights take the 2 points this week. They need it. They had a bit of a stinker there up against the Broncos, but like I said, missing a few players, a bit of a shuffled up squad. So it's tricky when you get to that. So they'll be happy to get this bye at this time, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's a good time for them to receive it. The extra week of training to maybe get things back on track again. Still in the hunt, the Newcastle Knights, but things will have to turn around. We'll have to see. Obviously, not as many games left as last year when they started to make their run, but we will have to see something similar for them if they do want to end up with finals footy again.
So we're going to need
Caleb Ponga, he's going to have to
run.
find his best footy again.
But a Dally M footy coming up.
I think that KP one might be a little bit late as well for KP, but we'll see. 6 points on the line with every game makes things a little bit easier to make a late run potentially, but yeah, Newcastle things of another team similar to Canberra, similar to the Dolphins. Obviously the Dolphins still sitting in that top 8, but yeah, things haven't been going well over the last couple of months, really, for Newcastle on the whole.
Nah, not at all. So, as we said, it's a well-timed buy, for them there. It wraps up another round of footy, your 21st round of NRL footy for the year. Now we haven't seen any ramble. We're sort of right in the midst of that pre-season.
Yeah, just a little bit of pre-season.
Not even in the midst of it. It's just kicking off. You've got those transfer rumours sort of twirling around a wee bit.
Yeah, a few signings here and there that you've seen unravel probably would have already been well and truly in the works. Sort of pre-big tournaments there, maybe just waiting for a lull in the football scene to announce them, to maybe drive those shirt sales, capture the football fans' attention a bit more. You might have seen one or two slide under the radar. Few players moving around here and there on
there's
loan,
always a player that moves that you don't
July, but
you don't realise, and then you see them pop up and you go, oh shit, that's an unusual move.
Things don't really tend to start heating up until August, once the players have got a couple of weeks of pre-season.
You've gone for your holiday, you've had your pre-season, you're back underway again. Exactly.
Yeah, the suits have got together and had their negotiations for the transfers. You've seen players moving to get ready for their new clubs, that sort of thing. More tends to happen in August, but yeah, I guess we'll keep our eye on the footy scene.
We'll see what pops up along the way.
Intrigues our interest, but yeah, definitely, as you may have noticed if you're a regular listener, we're probably going to keep that focused in the Arsenal sphere.
Yeah, we won't really be delving out.
Don't really care too much what those other wankers are doing, really.
No, I'm not really overly
Shout out
fussed.
Auckland FC, Auckland United.
Shout out Auckland FC. Yeah, I'll probably be.
If we hear anything on them, we may start chatting them on the potty. But yeah, can't say I've tuned into too many games of A-League over the last 10 or so, 12 years, really, for mine.
Not much of an A-League viewer, I've got to say. It doesn't really.
Back in high school, I watched a little bit.
Yeah, the odd Friday, Saturday night, a little bit of A-League action. You had a couple of those cool marquee players. That Sam Del Piero scored some bangers out there. So it has its moments, the A-League. So
they can burst up Baruch's day, really.
It's up Borussia, Brisbane Roar. Yeah, a little bit of what was that team that's no longer a team anymore? Canberra have a team? Do they still have a team now?
No.
They did have a team.
In the A-League?
I'm pretty sure. Way back. Perth,
maybe early days.
Pre-MacArthur, pre-Western Sydney Wanderers, pre-Melbourne City, pre-any of that jazz. We're talking original, inaugural A-League season. What are we talking here? Any of them?
Queensland Roar.
That's just the Brisbane Roar.
Yeah.
Any of them gone though?
The Newcastle Knights are just the Phoenix, but no, I don't believe so. Unless the Jets aren't a thing anymore.
Fuck, I don't know what I'm talking about, maybe.
The Jets are
still a thing. I swear there was like a Canberra team, maybe it wasn't in the A-League, maybe it was like
Is this who Bursart Borussia played for?
The NSL. No. Bursart Borussia played for Perth Glory, Brisbane Roar. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
I remember him out there as.
He played in a few clubs in the A-League over the years.
Moved his way around a little bit.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to Bursart Borussia. A goal scorer, that's for sure. We also saw the finale of the old match play there over the weekend. Luke Humphries up against MVG there in the final. Humphries far too good in the end, winning by, I think it was 17-12, I want to say. MVG in the last few leagues that I did get to catch, just struggling on his doubles by the looks of it. Humphries ended up finishing their little tops finish to check out 100, which I thought was quite nice to win it. But becoming pretty dominant at the moment. Humphries seeming to be winning most things out there. I believe they've got a weekend off, and before long they'll be head down under off to Aussie and then New Zealand, I believe. So we get that in a couple of weeks' time, which is something to look forward to. But apart from that, there's not been too much going on in the world of darts. So it probably wraps us up for another week, as always. If you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for getting involved. Remember to get in there and all your socials. Give us a like, give us a 5-star, give us a bit of a subscription there. Enjoy your week ahead. Enjoy whatever sport you're getting involved with throughout the week. And if you're having a punt, do so responsibly, and hopefully we'll see you here next week.
Sounds good. We'll see you then.
Ciao.
Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing.
Bennett and the Dragons win the grand final.
Whips that one away, and Kane Williamson and his team now world test champions.